A multi-millionaire lost everything until his cleaning lady changed his life in seconds. Before we begin, tell us what country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. The glass walls of Carter Tech Global's headquarters in New York City vibrated every time Ryan Carter slammed his fist against his mahogany desk. Red alerts flashed across the screens in his office one after another, like open wounds that wouldn't stop bleeding. Every system in the company was under attack. Files wiped, accounts frozen, numbers reset to zero. 15 years of work were collapsing right before his eyes. His tech empire, one of the largest in the United States, was falling apart in real time. This can't be happening, he muttered in disbelief, watching his stock value plummet like stones. The most important deal of his life was supposed to be signed at sunrise, a $12 billion merger that would have made him a legend in the corporate world. Instead, he would have to explain to his investors that they had become victims of a cyber attack no one could stop. His breathing grew heavy. He had built this company from nothing, sleeping in offices, eating in front of monitors, sacrificing friendships and relationships, and all of it was disappearing. At 11:30 p.m., he heard footsteps in the hallway. He had sent everyone home earlier. He couldn't bear their worried stares. He assumed it was security, but the sound was different, soft, slow steps, accompanied by the squeak of wheels. He looked up through the glass walls. He saw a figure moving between the cubicles, a woman in a blue uniform, pushing a cleaning cart. Ryan exhaled. He'd forgotten that the night shift cleaning crew came at this hour. The woman paused outside his office. Seeing him there, tired, tie loosened, she hesitated for a moment before continuing. She had light brown hair tied in a ponytail and blue eyes that reflected the dim corridor light. For some reason, her presence felt strangely calming. She worked quietly, completely unaware of the financial chaos devouring him. While Ryan's world fell apart, this woman kept cleaning desks as if nothing was happening. When their eyes met, she stopped. Something in his expression made her step closer and gently tap on the glass with her knuckles. Ryan hesitated, but motioned for her to come in. She left her cart outside and entered carefully. "Sorry," she said softly, a gentle Latina accent in her voice. "I don't want to interrupt, but are you okay? You look really unwell." Ryan let out a bitter laugh. "That depends on what you call okay. My company was just destroyed, and no one can fix it." She watched him for a few seconds, then glanced at the screens where errors kept flooding in uncontrollably. "Cyber attack?" she asked. "Yes. My best engineers couldn't stop it. Everything's gone." She stepped closer, showing neither fear nor surprise. "May I take a look?" "Take a look?" he repeated, stunned. "At my screens? Maybe I can help." Ryan raised an eyebrow. A cleaner talking about computer networks. For a moment he wondered if he was hallucinating, but something about her tone made him reconsider. "That makes no sense," he said. "Even my engineers couldn't fix it." "Sometimes the people inside can't see clearly," she replied calmly. "Let me try. You have nothing to lose." She was right. He had nothing left to lose. Ryan nodded slowly. The woman, Sofia Alvarez, sat down at the main monitor. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with skill that left him speechless. She didn't hesitate, didn't search. She typed command lines with precision, opening hidden pathways and running tools he didn't even know existed in his own system. "This is worse than it looks," she murmured, frowning. "But their attack strategy has a flaw. If your old backups weren't connected to the main system, we can recover everything." Ryan blinked. "How do you know all this?" She didn't look at him. She kept working. I used to be an engineer at Sentinel Gate Systems. 8 years in cybersecurity. I had to quit when my mom got sick. This job lets me support my nephews and keep a flexible schedule. He didn't know what to say. I'm sorry, he whispered, about your mom. She passed 6 months ago, Sophia said quietly. But she left me something important, the habit of not giving up when something looks impossible. Sophia continued typing. The glow of the screens lit her face with a mix of focus and determination. If you have local backups, I can attempt a manual recovery. I'll need access to your main server in a few uninterrupted hours. Ryan stared at her, stunned. The woman who cleaned offices knew more about his systems than his entire tech team. Finally, he stood up, pulled out his master key card, and handed it to her. You have full access. Whatever you need. Sophia looked surprised. You trust me just because I sounded confident? I trust you, Ryan said, because you're the first person who didn't tell me I'm sorry, and because I have no other choice. She gave him the smallest smile. Then let's get to work. But I have to warn you, when this works, don't forget who helped you. Ryan followed her to the elevator. The cleaning cart was left behind, abandoned. Sophia walked with firm, purposeful stride, not like an invisible employee, but like a professional who knew exactly what she was doing. As they descended to the underground server level, Ryan realized this night wasn't only about saving his company. Something inside him was shifting, something deep. For the first time in a long while, he felt hope. The elevator reached the basement with a heavy clunk. A massive steel door with biometric scanners stood before them. Ryan swiped his card and pressed his fingerprint to the reader. The door opened with a low rumble, revealing the heart of Carter Tech Global. Rows of servers hummed under cold blue light. The air was dry and freezing. Welcome to the brain of my company, Ryan said bitterly. Or what's left of it. Sophia placed her bag on the table and put on work gloves. Let's bring it back to life, she said calmly. But I'll need everyone else kept out, even security. Done, Ryan said and made a quick call. Sophia connected her laptop to the main console. Her eyes narrowed as thousands of lines of corrupted code filled the screen. They use a multi-layer dispersion attack, she said. They got in through your email system, mapped your entire network, then launched a virus that rewrote access rights. Complicated, but reversible. And my backups? That's the interesting part, she murmured. The attackers assumed all your backups were synchronized, but you still have old servers installed before the last major update. They're offline. That means the data might be untouched. Ryan leaned closer. You're saying we can recover everything? Yes, but I'll need hours to rebuild the routes. And I can't guarantee they won't try again. Tell me what you need. Coffee, silence, and 6 uninterrupted hours. For the first time that night, Ryan smiled. I've managed projects worth hundreds of millions, but I don't think I've ever gotten such a straightforward plan. Sophia looked up briefly and smiled back. Simplicity tends to work better than speeches, Mr. Carter. Work began. Sophia moved between servers with the precision of someone who understood every piece of system. Ryan, used to leading from afar, found himself watching her with respect. She was not only smart, she was patient, methodical, fearless. Hours passed. Only the click of keys and the steady hum of machines filled the silence. Ryan returned with coffee from the small break room and set it beside her. Thanks, she said without looking away. It'll take time, but it's working. Were you always as persistent? He asked. Let's say life taught me not to quit easily, she replied, adjusting a line of code. When my mom got sick, I spent months studying her treatment, looking for solutions doctors had already dismissed. I didn't save her, but I learned something important. Impossible is usually just something people haven't tried again. Ryan listened quietly. Her voice was calm, but her words carried weight. I forgot that a long time ago, he said. I focused so much on winning that I stopped believing. Sometimes, Sophia replied gently, you just need someone to remind you why you started. At 3 a.m., something changed. The screens began showing clean access paths, restored directories, systems reconnecting one by one. You did it, Ryan whispered, stepping closer. What did you do? What no one on your team tried, Sophia said with a faint smile. I restored your files from the old servers and built a manual firewall. Your data wasn't lost, it was asleep. Ryan fell into a chair with relief. I don't know how to thank you. Don't celebrate yet, she warned. I still need to rebuild the protocols and make sure they can't get back in. Whatever you need, you'll have it. Sophia nodded and refocused. Dawn was starting to seep through the upper vents, the blue glow of the machines mixing with the faint golden morning light. At 6:30 a.m., the main system displayed a message on the screen. Network successfully restored. Sophia exhaled deeply and leaned back in chair. It's done. Your company is alive. Ryan stared at her, almost in disbelief. Not just alive, he said. Stronger than before. She gave him a tired smile. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. For the first time in years, Ryan let out a genuine laugh. You should be running my security department. I'm just a cleaner, Mr. Carter. Nothing more, she replied firmly. As of today, that changes. Sophia looked at him, stunned. You're offering me a job? No, Sophia, Ryan said softly. I'm offering you an opportunity, the same kind you gave me tonight. She lowered her gaze, moved. You didn't have to repay me with something like this. I helped because it was the right thing. Exactly, Ryan said, because you did the right thing when no one else would. Silence settled between them, filled with mutual respect. In that moment, both understood that this night had changed more than just the company's fate. When the first employees arrived that morning, they found their CEO, with his suit jacket hanging over a chair, drinking coffee beside the woman in a blue janitorial uniform. The screen showed stable data, numbers trending upward, servers running smoothly. It was as if the crisis had never happened. Later, in the conference room, Ryan gathered his core team. Let me introduce Sophia Alvarez, he announced in a steady voice. She didn't just save this company, she revived it. Whispers spread across the room. Robert Campos, the chief technology officer, watched her with a mix of disbelief and irritation. She's from a night cleaning crew? He asked, confused. She is, Ryan replied without hesitation. And starting today, she's working with us. Sophia inhaled deeply, feeling, for the first time in years, that her life had direction again. As the team dispersed, Ryan approached her. Don't leave yet. I want you to rest and come back later today. We're going to need you more than you realize. Sophia nodded, still processing everything. When she stepped outside the building, the full glow of sunrise wrapped around her. She lifted her eyes to the shining Carter Tech Global logo. She smiled. She had walked in as an invisible worker, but she was leaving as the woman who changed the fate of an entire corporation. The following Monday, Carter Tech's offices were more alive than ever. Rumors about what had happened over the weekend spread through every hallway. No one knew the details. Only that total collapse had been prevented at the last moment, and that a woman from the night cleaning shift had something to do with it. Sophia arrived shortly after 8 a.m. She wasn't in her blue uniform anymore, but in a white blouse and dark slacks. Her face carried a blend of nerves and determination. As she crossed the lobby, some employees stared at her with curiosity, others with skepticism. An assistant approached her with a discreet smile. "Good morning. You must be Engineer Alvarez. Mr. Carter is expecting you on the 38th floor." Sophia nodded, trying to steady the tremble in her hands as she entered the elevator. She never imagined walking into a corporate building as a professional again, let alone one of this level. The doors opened, and there he was. Ryan, flawless in his dark suit, stood waiting for her outside the conference room with a folder in his hand. His expression was different now, calm, steady. "You're right on time," he said, giving her a small smile. "Today is the first day of the rest of your career." Sophia followed him inside. The room was full, department heads, the CFO, and in the corner, Robert Campos, watching her with a raised eyebrow. Ryan began. "Before anything else, I want to make something clear. The attack we experienced was the most serious in this company's history. But thanks to one person, we not only survived, it made us stronger." He gestured toward Sophia. "This person is Engineer Sophia Alvarez." Robert's eyebrows shot up. "Engineer?" "Last Friday, she was part of the cleaning staff. And on Friday night," Ryan replied firmly, "she saved everything we built for the past 15 years. As of today, Sophia will lead our new information security division." Whispers multiplied. Some nodded respectfully. Others exchanged doubtful looks. Sophia stood silently, holding her head high. "I'm not here to replace anyone," she finally said. "I'm here to make sure what happened never happens again." The seriousness in her voice silenced even Robert. Ryan used the moment to close the meeting. "That's all. New security measures will be on your desks tomorrow morning. Sophia will report directly to me." As everyone left, Robert paused in the doorway. "Let's see how long your miracle lasts," he muttered without looking at her. Sophia took a deep breath but didn't respond. She learned long ago that respect is not demanded, it's earned. Later that day, Ryan invited her to tour the facility. He showed her the development labs, programming floors, financial offices. "All of this is functioning because of you," he said as they walked past glowing monitors. "Because of a little luck," Sophia replied. "That wasn't luck. That was talent," he corrected. Sophia smiled quietly. They walked in silence, but there was something in the way Ryan looked at her, sincere appreciation that went beyond simple gratitude. When they approached the tech department, Robert stood with his team, giving rapid instructions. When he saw the CEO approaching, his tone changed instantly. "We're reviewing all protocols, Mr. Carter," he reported. "I don't want another coincidence leaving us vulnerable." "That wasn't a coincidence, Campos," Ryan said evenly. "It was a demonstration of skill, and I hope we all learn from it." Sophia simply nodded. She knew Robert felt threatened. That was normal. As they walked away, Ryan leaned toward her and whispered, "Ignore him. He'll need time to accept what happened." "I'm not worried about being underestimated," she replied. "I'm worried they don't understand what's coming next. The attacks weren't random." He stopped. "What do you mean?" "Whoever did this knew the internal structure of the company too well. This wasn't just some random hacker." Ryan looked at her carefully. "You're suggesting it was someone on the inside?" "I don't have proof, but my gut says yes. And if I'm right, this is only the beginning." The following days were a trial by fire. Sophia submerged herself in the systems with her small team, rewriting firewalls, encrypting data, combing through old logs. Robert, though clearly unhappy, was forced to cooperate. As they worked together, clashes were inevitable. "You can't just change passwords without consulting me," he protested one afternoon. "I can't protect the system if everyone knows how to break it," Sophia replied calmly, without raising her voice. Ryan, watching from the doorway, hid a small smile. This woman wasn't afraid of anyone. By the end of the week, the results spoke for themselves. Network security had increased by 40%, and the new protocols were running with a level of efficiency even Robert couldn't argue with. "I'll admit your methods are effective," he finally said, arms crossed. "But you're still unpredictable." Sophia looked at him steadily. "Sometimes unpredictability is the only thing keeping us from being destroyed." Robert didn't answer, and for the first time, he dropped his gaze. One night, when most of the staff had already gone home, Sophia was still working in her temporary office. Ryan was walking down the hallway when he noticed the light on. He knocked softly on the door. "You're still here?" "I just wanted to review a few logs," she said, stretching over the network access screens. He stepped inside, leaning against the doorframe. "If I don't force you to take a break, you're going to end up sleeping here." "It wouldn't be the first time," she said lightly. "When I was an engineer, I spent entire nights in front of a monitor." Ryan watched her in silence. There was something hypnotic about the way she spoke. No drama, no self-pity, just facts. "You're different from everyone I've ever met in this place," he said at last. "Is that good or bad?" "Definitely good," he answered with a faint smile. Sophia lowered her eyes, a bit unsettled by the softness in his tone. "I don't know if I really fit in here, Ryan. I'm not like them." "That's exactly why," he said. "Because you're not like them. You're the one making the difference." A short, charged silence followed. Then she gathered her things and stood up. "Then I'll keep trying to make it worth it." Ryan walked her to the elevator. When the doors closed, he stayed there, staring at his reflection in the polished metal. He didn't fully understand what he was feeling, but he knew he hadn't felt this alive in a long time. The following week, the board of directors called an emergency meeting to review the changes that had been implemented. Valeria Soto, the chief financial officer, began. "I have to admit, the systems are running better than ever. Our financial losses were minimal, but I want to be sure this never happens again." Sophia presented a detailed report. She spoke clearly, avoiding unnecessary technical jargon. Every point she raised impressed the executives. When she finished, Fernando Aguilar, the chairman of the board, stood up. "Mr. Carter, hire more people like her. She's the best thing that's happened to this company since it was founded." Applause filled the room. Ryan simply smiled and glanced at Sophia, who lowered her eyes, embarrassed. That night, when everyone had left, he stayed behind, thinking about that sentence. The best thing that's happened to this company. He couldn't help feeling that, for him, she was also the best thing that had happened in a very long time. Let's play a little game for those reading the comments. Type the word hamburger in the comment section. Only those who made it this far will understand. Let's continue the story. The atmosphere at Carter Tech Global had completely changed. Hallways that once felt tense were now full of movement and energy. Frozen projects were restarted. Meetings became more productive, and investors were smiling again. However, Ryan knew something still didn't add up. Sophia had warned him from the beginning. This didn't feel like the work of some random outside group. There was too much precision, too much internal knowledge used against the company. Over the next few weeks, she reviewed every log, every suspicious connection. She slept little, ate in front of the monitors, and only stopped to drink coffee. Ryan came by almost every night, not because he had to, but because it had become a habit. "You still haven't found anything?" he asked one evening, leaning against the doorframe. Sophia didn't even look up. "Nothing concrete, just traces. But I'm sure someone is leaking information, someone on the team. And whoever it is, they're very good at covering their tracks." Ryan stepped inside and sat down across from her. "I don't like seeing you this exhausted," he said honestly. Sophia let out a small laugh. "Says a man who hasn't slept a full night in weeks." "Fair point," he smiled. "But at least you don't have to carry all of this alone." She glanced at him for a brief moment. "I'm not alone." That simple phrase disarmed him. There was a short silence. He looked down, searching for any excuse to change the subject. "Tomorrow there's a dinner with the investors. I'd like you to come." "Me?" she asked, surprised. "I don't think that's a good idea. You're the one responsible for this company still being alive. They should meet you." "I don't feel comfortable around that many fancy people," she said with a nervous laugh. "I barely know how to act at those kind of events." "Then consider it a technical mission," he joked. "Make sure the system doesn't crash while I talk too much." Sophia rolled her eyes, but eventually agreed. The next evening, one of the most exclusive restaurants in Manhattan was reserved for the event. Sophia arrived on time, wearing a simple, elegant pearl gray dress. Nothing flashy. When Ryan saw her walk in, he was speechless for a moment. "I didn't think a dress could make me forget I'm here to talk about business," he muttered, half serious. "Then stay focused, Mr. Carter," she replied with a smile. "You wouldn't want me distracting you." During dinner, the investors were friendly and grateful. Sophia answered their technical questions with precision, and everyone seemed impressed by her intelligence and humility. At the end of the night, when the group started to disperse, Ryan and Sophia stayed a few extra minutes out on the terrace. The lights of New York Harbor shimmered in the distance, reflected on the water. "I don't know whether to thank you for coming," he said, leaning on the railing, "or for making me look good." "I just did what I was supposed to do," Sophia replied. "But there's something that's bothering me." "What happened?" "One of the investors mentioned details about our servers that should never be public. Information only people on the inside know." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. Which means the leak hasn't stopped." Ryan stared out at the skyline. "All right, I'm going to ask you for something," he finally said. "Find this person. I don't care who it is." Sophia nodded. "I'll do it, but I need full freedom to investigate. You have my complete support." That same night, Sophia returned to the office. It was nearly midnight. She connected her laptop and began reviewing old logs, account movements, database access trails. Then she heard footsteps in the hallway. Robert Campos appeared in the doorway. "Well, you're working late," he said casually, but his eyes betrayed concern. "I don't like leaving things unfinished," Sophia replied, not taking her eyes off the monitor. "I know people have been talking about you lately," he added. "You're the hero of the year." "Don't exaggerate. I just did my job." Robert folded his arms. "Honestly, I don't know whether to admire you or fear you. You changed everything in just a few weeks, and not everyone is happy about it." Sophia slowly turned toward him. "And you?" He gave a sarcastic smile. "I just follow orders. But there are people above me who don't trust you. Maybe they should be less worried about me and more worried about what's happening in their system," she replied calmly. Robert leaned slightly closer. "Just be careful, Sophia. Some people don't forgive it when a stranger proves them wrong." When he left, the atmosphere grew heavier. Something in Robert's expression, in his tone set off every alarm inside her. She opened a hidden system log and ran an expanded scan. A few minutes later, a series of suspicious access logs appeared, all under R. Campos. Her heartbeat quickened. "This can't be," she whispered. She took screenshots, encrypted them, and saved them to an external drive. Then she shut down the computer and quietly left the building. The next morning, she arrived earlier than everyone else and went straight to Ryan's office. "We need to talk," she said bluntly. Alarm spread across his face. "What happened?" "I think I found the culprit." Sophia placed a drive on the desk and plugged it into the system. Suspicious access logs under Robert's credentials filled the screen. Here's the proof. He allowed the initial breach, altered the authentication protocols, and erased the traces afterward. Ryan frowned. "Are you sure these logs weren't forged?" "I checked the metadata. They're real, and the timestamps match the night the attack started." Ryan stood up and began pacing, hands in his pockets. This could destroy his career. "He destroyed the trust of everyone here," Sophia said firmly. "We can't let this happen again." Ryan nodded slowly. "Let me handle it." "No," Sophia stopped him. "If you confront him directly, he'll erase more evidence or manipulate others. We need to act carefully. What do you suggest?" "That we pretend we know nothing. I'll track his communications and figure out if he's working alone or for someone." Ryan stared at her with a mix of admiration and disbelief. "I don't know how you do it. Aren't you scared?" Sophia smiled softly. "Of course I'm scared. I just learned not to show it." Something in that answer hit him deeply. Sophia started to speak, but Ryan interrupted her. "Don't thank me yet. The worst part is ahead." Later that day, Ryan held a company-wide meeting to announce the recent security improvements. Robert stood among the crowd, trying to appear calm, unaware that his name was already flagged. Sophia presented the new protocol, continuous monitoring and access tracking. Robert tried to hide his unease, but Ryan noticed when the presentation ended. The CEO stood up. "Excellent work, Sophia. I'm proud of what we've accomplished." She nodded, exchanging a glance with him. Both knew the real battle was still ahead. That night, leaving the building, Sophia received an anonymous text. "Stop the investigation. You have no idea who you're dealing with." Her pulse spiked. She looked around. The street was empty. The cold New York wind whipped between the trees. She pocketed the phone and exhaled slowly. This message confirmed one thing. She was on the right trail. Sophia barely slept. The warning echoed in her mind. Stop the investigation. You don't know who you're dealing with. This wasn't an empty threat. Someone else inside the company was involved, and the warning only proved she was getting closer. The next morning, she went straight to Ryan. "We need to talk," she said urgently. "What happened?" he asked, setting down his coffee. "I'm being watched. I received an anonymous message last night." Ryan stiffened. "Are you okay?" "Yes. But this proves Robert wasn't acting alone. Someone else is behind this." He frowned. "I'll call security." "No," she said sharply. "If you do that, they'll know we're on to them. Let me handle it." Ryan stared at her, both worried and impressed. "I don't want you putting yourself at risk." "Relax," she said with a small smile. "I just need time to find out who's behind this." The following days were relentless. Sophia turned her office into a small lab. She reviewed logs, analyzed emails, tracked network addresses. Each discovery brought her closer to the truth and closer to danger. One afternoon, as she walked her car in the underground garage, she sensed someone watching her. She turned. No one, but something glinted under her bumper. She crouched down and carefully pulled out a small black device, a tracker. A few minutes later, she walked into Ryan's office and set the device on his desk. "This was on my car," she said calmly. He went pale. "A tracker?" "Yes, and it's short range. Whoever put it there knows exactly where I live and when I move." Ryan clenched his fists. "I'm calling the police." "If you do that, they'll disappear," she replied. "It's better to let them think I never found it." "So what do you suggest?" he asked. Sophia looked at him with steady resolve. "A trap." That night, they stayed in the building after everyone else left. Sophia pretended to be working late, while Ryan watched from his darkened office with the lights off. She left a fake file in the system, full of fabricated data, designed to tempt whoever was spying on her. At 11:30 p.m., they heard footsteps in the hallway. Sophia kept her eyes on the screen, heart pounding. The door slowly opened. "I knew it was you," Ryan said, flipping on the light. Robert Campos froze in the doorway. He was holding a folder in his hand. "What is the meaning of this?" Ryan demanded, furious. "What are you doing on this floor at this hour?" Robert swallowed. "I didn't come to steal. I came to take back information that belongs to me." "Company information," Sophia countered. "Or information for your partners in Zurich?" He stared at her in shock. "So you already know?" He let out a bitter laugh. "You don't understand anything. This company is not what you think it is." "Then explain," Ryan ordered. "I was just trying to correct a mistake," Robert said. "This company was sold out years ago to interests that don't respect its original values anymore. I just exposed them." "Exposing isn't the same as destroying," Sophia said, stepping forward. "You put thousands of jobs at risk." "At least now everyone will know who's really in charge here," he replied with a crooked smile, before shoving the door and bolting. Ryan ran after him, but by the time he reached the elevators, Robert was gone. Sophia pulled at the camera feeds, but the screen showed static. "He knew exactly how to take them offline," she said in frustration. Ryan slammed his fist against the wall. "I can't believe we lost him again." Sophia gently put a hand on his arm. "Easy. If he moved tonight, it's because he felt cornered. We will find him." Hours later, when the building was silent again, Sophia found something new in the system logs. "Ryan, look at this," she said, calling him over. On the screen, a trail of wire transfers appeared, linked to a shell company called Norbalk and Salton Group. "Where's that from?" he asked. "From an account based in Zurich. And guess who its primary investor is?" She zoomed in. "And Link Solutions, our direct competitor." Ryan closed his eyes for a moment, realizing how deep this went. So Robert was working for them. They wanted to destroy us from the inside. "Exactly," Sophia replied. "And the worst part? He might not be the only one in contact with them." Tension mounted over the next few days. The board demanded answers. The press leaked rumors about internal betrayal and multi-million-dollar data leaks. One night, as they were going through documents, Ryan broke the silence. "I don't know how you handle this. Everyone looks at you like this is your responsibility." Sophia sighed. "I'm used to being underestimated. It's easier to work when no one believes in you." He smiled, genuinely impressed. "Sometimes I forget that just a few weeks ago, you were cleaning desks here. And now I'm wiping out threats instead of dust," she joked. They both laughed quietly, but the laughter faded into the tension in the room. Ryan looked at her with an expression he hadn't shown before, a mixture of respect and tenderness. "You didn't just save my company, Sophia," he said softly. "You gave me back my faith in people." Sophia looked away, a little nervous. "Don't say that. I just did my job." "No." Ryan took a step closer. "You did much more than that." For a moment, they stood face to face. The light from the monitors washed over their faces. No one spoke, but the distance between them felt like it was disappearing. Finally, Sophia took a small step back and drew a deep breath. "We shouldn't mix the personal and the professional," she said gently. "Too late," he replied with a half smile. "Some things mix on their own." Sophia lowered her gaze, an involuntary smile tugging at her lips. "Then let's at least make sure we do the work perfectly. Maybe that'll distract fate." Ryan chuckled quietly. "I doubt fate gets distracted by you." Near midnight, an alert cut through the silence. Sophia rushed to the main monitor. "We've got a new breach attempt." "Robert," Ryan asked. "I don't know, but they're coming in through a door only executives know about." They both stared at the screen. Lines of code flickered rapidly. "They're in," Sophia said through clenched teeth. She started typing at impressive speed. "I'm going to block access, but I need a few minutes." "Do whatever it takes," Ryan replied. They worked in sync. She wrote commands. He coordinated alerts and internal communications. Finally, the screen stabilized. "It's done," she said, exhausted. "I connected a tracker to the point of origin. If they try again, we'll know exactly where it's coming from." Ryan stepped closer and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Incredible. Every time I think you can't surprise me anymore, you do." Sophia gave him a tired smile. "I guess I'm good under pressure." "And I'm lucky you're on my side," he said. For a moment, they just looked at each other in silence. There was nothing left to say. Outside, the city slept. Inside these walls, something more than a network was waking up. Monday began with a deceptive calm. From the outside, Carter Global looked like it was operating as usual. But Ryan and Sophia knew that calm was fragile. Behind the servers, something was still moving. Sophia arrived early. As soon as she saw Ryan, she went straight to his office. "I have the tracking results," she said, opening her laptop. "Last night's attempt came from an encrypted private network. But the final bounce is inside the country." "Inside?" he asked, surprised. "Yes, in Chicago. And the IP address is tied to a company called Norpark Holdings." "The same people funding Robert," Ryan muttered. "Exactly. They haven't disappeared. They just changed tactics." Ryan ran a hand over his face. "Can we locate them?" "Not yet, but I can set up a reverse infiltration. If they try to connect again, I can track them in real time." "Do it," he said, then looked at her seriously. "But don't push it too far." Sophia gave him a faint smile. "If I were afraid, I wouldn't be here." The day passed in tense meetings and emails from investors. The press already suspected there was an internal saboteur, and rumors were spreading. Ryan tried to stay calm, but there was only one person he truly trusted. By nightfall, most of the staff had gone home. Only the two of them remained, shut inside the main office. Sophia typed with full focus, eyes locked on the screen. "Nothing yet." Ryan asked, "Patience. If the attacker connects again, I'll see it." A soft chime broke the silence. Sophia straightened. "There it is," she whispered. "They just tried to get in." Ryan stepped up behind her. "Can you trace the source?" "Yes, but this is external," she said, frowning. "It's an internal connection." Sophia's voice tightened. "It's coming from inside the company." The silence that followed was instant. Ryan stared at her in disbelief. "Only 3 people have administrator rights. You, me, and Valeria." Sophia took a deep breath. "Which means someone used her credentials, or it was her." Minutes later, she pulled up a log on the screen. Here's the exact timestamp. It matches the night Valeria was supposedly at the investor meeting. "No," Ryan said, shaking his head. I've known her for years. Exactly, Sophia replied. No one suspects a person who looks loyal. He stared at the data, unable to process it. I don't want to accuse her without final proof. Then let me get it, Sophia said firmly. If she connects again, I can reroute her into a fake environment. We'll see exactly where she sends the information. Ryan nodded. Do it, but don't put yourself at risk. Relax, she said calmly. I just need time. Hours crawled by. Outside, the city slept. Inside, only the hum of the servers and the soft tapping of Sophia's keyboard filled the air. Ryan watched her, equal parts admiration and fear. I don't understand how you stay so calm, he finally said. Sophia didn't look up. Because fear doesn't go away. You just learn to use it. He smiled. You see things no school can teach. She glanced up at him. And you trust in ways no businessman ever does. Maybe because I stopped trusting long ago, he admitted quietly. Until you showed up. Their eyes met. For a moment, no one spoke. The tension was almost tangible. Sophia forced herself back to the keyboard. Don't tell me this now, she whispered. We're not done saving you yet. Ryan gave a soft smile. Then when all this is over, I'll say it again. Around midnight, the system issued an alert. Another connection, Sophia said quickly. Is it her? Or someone using her credentials? Where from? Ryan asked. From the corporate building near the harbor. I'm starting the trace. Ryan leaned over the desk. We can catch her this time, if she falls into the fake server. She will, Sophia replied. I'm loading decoy data. She'll think she's inside the main system. The screen flooded with green lines. She's in, Sophia murmured. But what she sees isn't real. Perfect, Ryan said. Let's follow the trail. A few minutes later, the exact address appeared. Sophia wrote it down. There, we have the location. Ryan grabbed his coat. We're going. Now, she asked, surprised. Yes, I'm not letting another traitor run. Sophia stopped him at the door. If you go without proof, she'll deny everything. Let me secure the recording first. How long? 5 minutes. While she worked, Ryan watched her. This woman had gone from invisible to his only real ally. He realized he wasn't just fighting to save the company. He was fighting to protect her. 5 minutes later, Sophia looked up. It's done. The evidence is solid. If we confront her now, she can't deny it. Then we're going together, he said with resolve. She looked at him with a mix of nerves and confidence. All right, but if anything goes wrong, you blame me. I'm not blaming you for anything, Sophia. You're the reason we still have something to fight for. They left the building shortly before dawn. The sky over Chicago was a bluish gray, the city slowly waking up. They walked in silence, focused, but something heavier than tension hung between them. Sophia thought of everything. The first night in the server room, the sleepless days, the unspoken looks. What will you do if this ends well? She asked as they reached the car. Ryan glanced at her. I don't know. Maybe for the first time, let someone help me live instead of just work. Sophia smiled softly. Sounds like something you've already started doing. He didn't reply, but he held her gaze a second longer than necessary before opening the car door. Come on, we got a traitor to expose. They both knew that whatever they were about to face would test not only their intelligence, but everything they'd begun to feel for each other. A small joke for those reading the comments. Type the word vanilla. Only those who reach this point will get it. Morning in Chicago was cold and gray. Ryan drove in silence while Sophia reviewed the trace logs on her laptop. Traffic was light, tension thick. The last connection came from this address, she said, pointing at the screen. A consulting office called Northbark and Soren. The same people who funded Robert, Ryan muttered, gripping the wheel. I can't believe they were working this close. They never left, Sophia replied. They just did better. A few minutes later, the car stopped in front of a metallic-looking building. They didn't speak. They both knew they were about to confirm the truth. In the elevator, Ryan broke the silence. No matter what happens in there, don't leave my side. I won't, Sophia said firmly. But let me speak first. The doors open on the 15th floor. A sign on the door read Northbark and Soren Consulting. Sophia connected her laptop to a nearby port. I'll intercept everything that leaves this office. If they try to delete anything, it'll stay on my system. Ryan nodded and opened the door. Inside the quiet, elegant office stood Valeria Soto. I knew you'd come, she said calmly. You're predictable, Ryan. He stared at her, anger barely contained. So it was you after everything we went through? Valeria crossed her arms. Don't be dramatic. I didn't break anything that wasn't already rotten. Neuralink Group offered me an opportunity you never saw. I simply took it. Sophia stepped forward. That doesn't justify betraying an entire company. Don't be naive, Sophia, Valeria countered with a cold smile. Everyone betrays for something, power, money, or love. Yours isn't visible yet, but it will come. Sophia remained calm, though her hands trembled slightly above the keyboard. Everything you're saying is being recorded. Your links to Northpark and Neuralink are already documented. You think I'm afraid of a recycled engineer? Valeria laughed. You have no idea who you're playing with. Ryan stepped closer. With someone who has more dignity than you ever will. Valeria's expression hardened. Dignity doesn't pay bills. You pushed me aside. Ryan, you left me in the shadows while she nodded at Sophia, took your attention. He stared at her, stunned. This was jealousy? This was justice, she snapped. I built this company with you, and you forgot. Sophia tapped a key. A financial graph appeared on the screen. These are the transfers. Every deposit from Zurich carries your digital signature. There's nothing left to deny. For the first time, Valeria's confident face cracked. Her composure faltered. You don't know what you're doing, Valeria whispered. Oh, I do, Sophia replied. I'm closing the loop. Ryan pulled out his phone and called security. The police are already on their way, he said. Valeria let out a nervous laugh. You think this ends with me? There are people behind this who are far more powerful. All you've done is give them a reason to crush you. Maybe, Ryan said, but at least today we got our honor back. A heavy silence followed his words. Minutes later, agents entered the building. Valeria was escorted out, head held high, still trying to preserve her dignity. Before leaving, she turned to Sophia. Enjoy your victory. But remember, heroes wear out too. Sophia watched her go without answering. Ryan walked up to her slowly. Are you okay? Yes, she said, closing her laptop. Just tired. You did it, he whispered. You saved us again. Not alone, Sophia replied. This time we did it together. Back at the office, the atmosphere was different. Employees spoke softly but with relief. Robert had been arrested in Chicago that same morning, and the media was already confirming the fall of the group that tried to sabotage Carter Tech Global. Ryan gathered the core team in the conference room. "What we've been through is a lesson," he said firmly. "We lost a lot, but we gained something more valuable: trust. And we owe that to Sophia." The room filled with applause. Sophia lowered her gaze, uncomfortable in the spotlight. But Ryan never took his eyes off her. He knew there would never be enough words to express what he felt. When the meeting ended, he waited until everyone left. Sophia was still reviewing reports when he appeared in the doorway. "Do you ever rest?" he asked, smiling. "If I stop working, I start thinking," she said without looking up. "And that sometimes hurts more." Ryan stepped closer and leaned against her desk. "What do you think about when you think?" Sophia let out a small laugh. "That this whole story is a lot to take in. That a few weeks ago I was cleaning desks here, and now I'm managing them." He looked at her with a mix of admiration and tenderness. "And yet, you're still the same woman who walked in that night, ready to help a stranger." Sophia looked up. "You weren't a stranger, just someone who'd forgotten who he was." The silence that followed was different. Ryan took another step, now standing directly in front of her. "You made me remember a lot of things." "Like what?" she asked with a slight smile. "Like courage isn't always in the numbers," he said. "It's in the people who stay when everything falls apart." Sophia held his gaze. "And you reminded me that even bosses can have a heart." He laughed softly. "Are you going to tell me that again if I ask you to have dinner with me?" "Dinner?" she echoed, pretending to be surprised. "Is that an official invitation or part of my contract?" "Let's call it extended gratitude," he said with a sincere smile. Sophia hesitated for only a second before nodding. "All right, Mr. Carter. But this time I'm paying for coffee." Hours later, when the building was empty, they left together. The night air smelled like rain, and the reflection of the city lights on the wet pavement lit Sophia's face. "You know something?" Ryan said as they walked. "I never thought the person who would save my company would also save my view of life." Sophia smiled, eyes dropping to the ground. "And I never imagined that the simplest job would lead me to meet someone like you." He stopped for a moment and looked her in the eyes. "Then I guess life knows how to program its own miracles." Sophia laughed softly. "Or its lucky bugs." Rain began to tap gently against the sidewalks as they kept walking. For the first time in a long while, neither of them was thinking about the past or the future. Only about this moment, about the relief of knowing that, after everything, they had survived. In their own way, they both knew something new was beginning, not just for the company, but for them. And even though they didn't say it out loud, they understood that what started as a catastrophe was about to become something far more than a redemption story. It was the beginning of a shared story. 3 months passed since Valeria and Robert fell. The Carter Tech Global building looked different, brighter, more alive. Hallways buzzed with optimistic conversations. Employees moved with energy, and projects that had been frozen were back in motion. Ryan watched it all from his office window, with a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. Peace. Not the peace of someone who controls everything, but the peace of someone who, after losing, has learned how to start again. Sophia walked in without knocking. "The quarterly report is ready," she said, placing a folder on his desk. "And the results?" he asked, though his smile already suggested he knew. "Excellent. The company has recovered 25% of its value, and our new contracts with Eastern Europe are already active." Ryan nodded, folded his arms. "Incredible. If you'd told me a few months ago we'd get here, I wouldn't have believed you." Sophia smiled. "Neither would I. But I guess that's what happens when people stop just surviving and start building." He studied her quietly. There was something in the way she spoke that inspired him. Yes, she had changed, but not at her core. She was still the same woman who decided, that first night, to help a stranger. "Have you thought about taking a few days off?" he asked. "Time off?" She laughed softly. "I don't really know how to do that." "Me neither," he admitted. "But we could learn. Together." Sophia raised an eyebrow, amused. "Is that an invitation?" "Depends. Would you say yes if it was?" She pretended to think. "Maybe if fate approves." "Don't ask fate," he replied with a smile. "Fate always shows up late." That night, the company held a private dinner to celebrate its recovery. The restaurant glowed with warm light and elegant tables. Ryan stepped onto a small platform to say a few words. "A few months ago, we all thought this was the end," he began, looking at his team. "But today, I can proudly say we're stronger than ever." He paused, eyes finding Sophia at a nearby table. "We didn't just recover data, we recovered something more important. Trust. And that lesson didn't come from numbers, but from a person who reminded us that courage is what we do when no one believes in us." The room burst into applause. Sophia smiled, trying to hide how emotional she felt. When Ryan stepped down, she was waiting for him with a glass of wine. "That went pretty well," she joked. "Just pretty well," he teased. "I was aiming for at least great." "Great will come when you learn to say thank you without a script," she shot back, laughing. Ryan set his glass down and leaned in slightly. "Thank you," he said softly, "for staying." Sophia held his gaze. "I didn't stay for the company, Ryan. I stayed because it's worth seeing who you're becoming." For a second, the noise of the room disappeared. There was only the two of them, looking at each other as if nothing else existed. In the days that followed, the atmosphere at the company settled into a calm rhythm. Rumors about the sabotage faded, and new hires reinforced the weakened departments. Sophia, now director of security, had her own office, but most of the time she was in Ryan's, reviewing strategies or sharing coffee while they bounced ideas around. One afternoon, as they were going through documents, he looked at her with quiet curiosity. "I never asked you something," he said. "Why did you really agree to stay?" Sophia thought for a moment before answering. "Because I felt like this time I had a chance to do things right. At my last job, I care about systems, not people. Here it's different." "And what changed?" he asked. She looked at him with a calm smile. "I guess I met someone who made me believe that people can reboot too, just like machines." Ryan looked at her in silence. "I rebooted my life too because of you," Ryan finally said. "And I'm not turning it off again." Sophia laughed, lowering her gaze. "You're worse than a disappointed poet," she teased. "And you're worse than a romantic troublemaker," he shot back. They both laughed. It felt easy to speak this way, because the hierarchy was gone. Only two people remained, who had survived chaos and learned to trust again. That Friday afternoon, Ryan invited her to walk along the Manhattan Pier, far from suits and spreadsheets. Sophia agreed. The salty air and the shimmer of the water gave them back something routine had erased. "Peace, do you remember the first time I saw you?" he asked as they walked. "I thought you were part of the cleaning staff." Sophia smiled. "Technically, I was, but you were so lost you didn't notice the real disaster wasn't on the floor. It was in your systems." "And in my head," he added. "That wasn't me saying it," she answered. They walked in silence for a moment, letting the wind speak for them. Then Ryan stopped. "I don't know if I ever told you this, but with you, I learned second chances are real. Sophia looked at him quietly. And I've wondered why you gave me a chance when no one else did. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind that speaks more than words. Ryan inhaled slowly. Sophia, I don't want to keep calling you my employee, or my director, or my savior. I want you to be something more. She blinked in surprise. More. My partner, he said simply. Sophia smiled shyly, lowering her eyes. That sounds dangerous. It is, he admitted, but it's worth the risk. She looked at him for several seconds. Then we'll have to learn how to mix risks with feelings. Ryan stepped closer. That sounds like a good deal to me. The wind blew her hair gently, and for a moment, the world around him seemed to stop. When she lifted her gaze, he was already close enough that no more words were needed. The weeks that followed confirmed what they both already knew. Their relationship was inevitable. They didn't need to hide anything. Their connection was obvious in the way they understood each other, without speaking. Sophia stayed professional as ever, but Ryan noticed her eyes softened whenever they crossed paths in the hallway. And he, the businessman who once lived only for work, discovered he finally had a reason to leave his office. One evening, while reviewing financial reports together, the sunset spilled into the room. Sophia stood to adjust the blinds. Ryan watched her quietly. "What are you staring at?" she asked without turning. "At the most incredible miracle that's ever happened to me," he replied. Sophia laughed softly, though her eyes shimmered. "Then we're even, because you were mine." Ryan stepped toward her. "You know none of this would exist without you. And without you, no one would give me the chance to prove who I am," she whispered. Their eyes met again, and although the clock marked the end of the workday, for them it was the start of something entirely new. The next morning, the Carter Tech Global building woke up covered in flowers. It was the company's anniversary. Ryan stepped onto the stage. "Today we're not celebrating the success of the company," he said firmly. "We're celebrating the courage of those who don't give up, even when everything seems lost." His eyes searched the crowd until he found Sophia smiling from the back row. "Sometimes," he continued, "true revolutions begin with one person who refuses to look away." Thunderous applause filled the hall. That night, as they dimmed the lights in the auditorium, Ryan walked up to her. "Thank you for reminding me that everything can start again," he said. "And thank you for believing it," she answered. They walked outside together. New York's night lights reflected across the wet pavement. Only then did they understand. This story was never about saving a company. It was about saving each other. Winter came to New York, leaving a clean chill on the glassy skyline. From the 40th floor, Ryan watched the glowing city. Carter Tech Global was thriving. New offices, international clients, a restored reputation. But what truly made him smile wasn't business. It was what came after work. Sophia's laughter, sunset walks, the quiet comfort she brought into spaces that once felt unbearable. Sometimes Ryan thought fate had a strange sense of humor, putting her in front of him that night dressed as a janitor while he, exhausted and arrogant, watched his world crumble. "You're still working at this hour?" she asked from the doorway. Ryan turned and smiled. "I was about to ask you the same thing. I just came to remind you we have a presentation with the new investors tomorrow," she said, placing a folder on his desk. "You'll remind me again in the morning, like always," he teased, stepping closer. Sophia shook her head, amused. "Someone has to keep you in order. Is that a complaint or a promise?" "A little of both," she laughed. Ryan studied her silently. Then, in a softer voice, "A year ago, in this same office. I thought I had lost everything. And now everything I have is worth something only because you're here. Sophia looked down, trying to hide emotion. Ryan gently took her hand. Sophia, there's something I want to show you. Come with me. He led her to the private elevator. They descended to the underground level, where the old main server had been located, the one she repaired that first night. When the doors opened, the space was completely transformed. A modern, state-of-the-art lab with a sign reading, "The Sophia Alvarez Innovation Center." Sophia froze. What is this?" "The new heart of the company," Ryan replied. "And it carries your name, because without you, we would never have started beating again." She touched the gleaming tables, the bright monitors still stunned. "This is incredible," she whispered. "And to think a year ago I was cleaning the same floor." Ryan smiled. "Life takes strange turns, doesn't it?" She nodded, eyes shining. "Thank you. Not for this, but for believing in me when even I couldn't." "And thank you," he replied, "for teaching me that real miracles don't come in million-dollar deals, but in the right people." For a moment they stood face to face in the bright white of the lab. Silence turned intimate. Ryan touched her cheek gently. "Can I admit something?" he whispered. Sophia smiled softly. "I think I already know, but I still need to say it." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Sophia gasped. "Ryan!" He opened it. A simple white gold ring gleamed under the lab lights. "I don't want this place to be only where our story started," he said softly. "I want it to be where our life together begins." Sophia pressed a hand to her chest, unable to speak. "You don't have to answer now," he added. "I just want you to know I'm not asking you to stay out of gratitude or obligation. I want you to stay because you choose me." Sophia inhaled deeply, holding back tears. "I chose you a long time ago," she whispered. "You were just too busy to notice." Ryan exhaled with relief, and she extended her hand. He slid the ring onto her finger. No words were needed. They embraced, knowing this moment was a perfect ending to everything they had survived. A few weeks later, the news of their engagement spread across the company. Employees celebrated as if it were their own victory. During a company meeting, Sophia spoke publicly for the first time. "When I came here, no one knew who I was," she said confidently. "And neither did I. But this place gave me a chance. And it taught me that the humblest job can change the fate of many if you do it with your whole heart." Thunderous applause filled the hall. Later that evening, on the terrace overlooking the city, they watched the sunset together. Sophia rested her head on his shoulder. "You think this will ever stop feeling like a dream?" she asked. "If it's a dream, I never want to wake up," he answered. She laughed softly. Typical, always with the perfect line. "It's not a line," he whispered. "It's the truth." The wind blew gently, turning the sky orange behind the skyscrapers. Ryan took her hand. "You know what I admire most about you?" "My patience," she joked. "Your faith," he said. "You never doubted, even when everything seemed impossible." "And you learned how to believe again," she answered quietly. "I think that makes us a good team." "The best," he said. They stayed in silence, watching the city lights turn on one by one. For the first time, Ryan wasn't thinking about numbers or deadlines, only this perfect moment. When they finally left the building, he paused under the glowing Carter Tech logo. It shone brighter than ever. But he knew the real success stood right beside him. Sophia took his hand. "Ready to go?" "Ready," he said. "Though honestly, I don't want to go anywhere except with you." She smiled softly. Then we have a deal. Wherever I go, you go with me." They walked to the car as a light drizzle began to fall. They didn't hurry. They let the rain catch them, because they had learned that happy endings don't come from luck, but from effort, loyalty, and second chances. And so, amid laughter, rain, and promises, Ryan Carter and Sofia Alvarez closed a chapter that began with catastrophe and ended as a story of salvation, trust, and love. Sometimes miracles don't fall from the sky. They come from people who choose to stay when everything is falling apart.